What up, my comic comrades? Today, as the title of the episode says, we're going to take a look at the origin of the Batmobile. The Batmobile is easily one of the most popular cars in all of fiction. If not the most popular, it's probably the latter. But that says a lot considering you have other popular cars in fiction like the Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters, the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and KITT from Knight Rider, just to name a few. With that said, from the jump in Batman's first appearance in Detective Comics issue 27, he was driving a red sedan to get places. But at first, it wasn't a badass vehicle, nor was it even called the Batmobile. It was just a red sedan that he drove to get from place to place across Gotham. In fact, it would take over half a year for Batman's car to officially be called the Batmobile, which happened in Detective Comics issue 48. While talking about Batman and Robin, the panels read as follows inside of Detective Comics issue 48. They ascend stairs and slide away a panel that leads into a seemingly old deserted barn. There's a quiet purr of a supercharged motor. The Batmobile flashes through the streets with bullet speed as Batman and Robin charge out of the barn in the Batmobile. And what's crazy is that in the Batmobile's first official appearance, it was still a red car. But at least now it was a red supercharged car, but it still just looked like a normal sports car of the 1940s. Like many of Batman's staples, the idea of dubbing Batman's car the Batmobile came from Batman co-creator Bill Finger, which isn't shocking as Finger is responsible for Batman's secret identity Bruce Wayne, and he's also the reason why he's a detective. Almost every major attribute Batman has came from Bill Finger. If you haven't already, you guys have to watch the documentary Batman and Bill. It's really enlightening and just all around awesome. I believe it's currently on Hulu, so if you have Hulu, you could stream it for free. Well, I guess not free because we're paying for it every month. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Bob Kane and Bill Finger aren't the only two men responsible for shaping Batman into what he is today, because artist Jerry Robinson was also working closely with them from the beginning. So much so, he's best known for co-creating Robin and the Joker alongside them. In any case, with Robinson's help with Batman, in the early 1940s, the Batmobile would take a huge leap forward. In early Batman issues, the Batmobile actually now had bat motifs like the Batmobiles of today. It was black and stealthy and had a huge Batwing spoiler coming off the top of it, as well as having a big bat head on the front of it. So though not technically the first Batmobile, this is the first Batmobile in the way we think of it today. A badass sports car that resembles a bat in one way or another. Now the Batmobile would more or less keep this design through the 1940s. Artist Dick Sprang would add little changes like giving it red racing stripes as seen on the iconic Batman 20 cover. Literally issue 19 of Batman, the issue before, the Batmobile was still all black. You could also credit that Sprang's cover from Batman 20 gave inspiration to the now iconic 66 Adam West Batmobile, which also has red accent lines. Once the 1950s came is when we would get the next major change for the Batmobile in Detective Comics issue 156. In this issue, the Batmobile got into a wreck. When two thugs Batman and Robin were chasing down blew up the bridge Batman and Robin were on. Not only was the Batmobile destroyed in this explosion, but Batman also broke his leg, so Batman and Robin were forced to rebuild the Batmobile. The two of them literally came up with blueprints for the new Batmobile while Batman was still in bed at the hospital. Batman then tells Robin while looking at the blueprints he made space for a built-in crime lab, complete with everything necessary for making tests on the run, to which Robin replies, "I could hardly wait to try it." On the next panel, we see Batman recovering at home in the Batcave while Robin is working on the new Batmobile. He says those rocket tubes in the fenders will give us bursts of tremendous speed for short distances. We then see that they're adding radar antenna, but Robin says it's tricky to install, to which Batman says it's gonna be worth the trouble if ever we have to navigate in the dark without lights. Then a few pages later, Batman, still on crutches mind you, reveals the new Batmobile to Robin, to which Robin says, "Oh boy, it's finished. What a beauty." And Batman replies, "It's 10 years ahead of anything else on wheels, fella. How about a trial spin?" The new Batmobile looked more or less the same as the previous version, except it was a little longer and a little wider, and it had a big headlight on the top of it. The main changes came internally as far as what it's capable of now, with all the added upgrades like the rocket boosters, built-in radar, crime lab, and so on. Now I realize that a lot of these upgrades in 2020 seem dumb or no big deal, but remember, this was the 1950s, so everything they put in the Batmobile during this time was a big deal. No other car had this stuff unless you were like James Bond. Anyway, Batman and Robin take the car out for a test run and it works perfectly. Even Commissioner Gordon says, "The new Batmobile, it's sensational, stunning, superb." Then Batman tells Robin later in the Batcave, the way the Batmobile performed, nothing short of a catastrophe can keep either of us out of circulation from now on. This Batmobile broke the ice for all the other Batmobiles to come, as now it could be anything the artist or writer needed it to be. What I'm saying is they can now add any device or piece of tech needed to the Batmobile to get Batman out of a pinch. So from here on out, the Batmobile became more than just a fast car, and instead the greatest tool in Batman's arsenal. Because of this, writers and artists would change things on the Batmobile when they needed, or just because they wanted to. And who could blame them? It's such a staple staple and iconic piece to not just Batman's history or comic book history, but pop culture in general, which is one of the many reasons we have so many different designs for the Batmobile in comics. But not only do we have countless comic book Batmobile designs, we almost have just as many different iterations for TV and movies. Who knows, it might even be a tie, that's how many there is. But I would go one step further and say that most iconic Batmobiles are from the movies and TV, purely because almost everyone watches movies and TV, and that's definitely not the case for comics. Movies and TV have given us the incredibly recognizable and iconic Keaton Batmobile, the 66 Batmobile, even the Tumbler. And of course, one of my all-time favorites, possibly my favorite, the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile. Although I will say, as far as live action Batmobiles go, it's the BVS or Batfleck Batmobile. For me, it's the perfect combination of the Keaton Batmobile and the Tumbler, being sleek and fast, but also having the presence and brute force of a tank. But as far as Batmobiles go outside of actual comics, you have the Super Friends Batmobile, the new Batman Adventures, the Batman, Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight, and Batman Beyond. It's literally almost an endless list. It's insane. What's also really cool is that a lot of times artists straight up put the movie and TV Batmobiles in the comics, or have one of their Batmobiles heavily inspired by one of the TV or movie Batmobiles. Like the DC Rebirth Batmobile, it is heavily inspired by Batman the Animated Series, as seen in Tom King's run. Then in Batman the White Knight, Sean Murphy created his own awesome looking Batmobile, but also straight up put in the Tumbler, the Batman Animated Series Batmobile, and the Keaton Batmobile, just to name a few, which is amazing. And this isn't the first time we've seen these iconic Batmobiles from film and TV incorporated into the comics. Jim Lee once drew the Batcave and showed Batman's garage with almost every famous Batmobile ever seen in there. So I really like how artists and comics make these live action Batmobiles canon to the comic books. What I'm saying is the Batmobile is not only the greatest car ever invented for comic books, it is quite possibly, and definitely for me personally, the best car ever invented in all of fiction. But with all that said, I hope today's episode helped you guys better understand how the Batmobile came to be. But now it's that time in the episode where we want to know what you guys think. Let us know in the comments section what's your favorite Batmobile, whether it be from the comic books, cartoons, movies, video games, let us know. And just like that, that brings today's episode of Variant to a close. But if you enjoyed today's content, or episode specifically, be sure to check out this one right here. And if you like our channel, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. It always helps us out. But I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.